Good morning. In the last lecture, I had told you how if we put together the observational fact that the galaxies are all moving away from us with a speed proportional to the distance and the theoretical assumption that the universe is homogeneous and isotropic. So, if we put these two things together, Hubble's law and the cosmological principle, if we combine these two, we are led to a picture where the universe is expanding. What we mean by this, the way to a simple way to visualize this is, imagine an infinite universe filled with galaxies and every galaxy is moving away from the other galaxy. This picture, I had used this picture to illustrate this. So, this is a part of the universe. Every grid point has a galaxy and at a later time the whole grid has expanded. The spacing between the galaxies has gone up and this fills the entire universe, which is infinite. So, we have to say that the whole universe is expanding. Now, then in the last class I had introduced the comoving coordinate system. The comoving coordinate system is a coordinate system that is fixed to the galaxies that are expanding. So, in this coordinate system the positions of the galaxies that are moving apart remains fixed. So, you can think of this grid being the comoving coordinate system. A galaxy at a position 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 0 would be here, 1, 0 I have suppressed the third dimension. So, 1, 0 this is the origin, a galaxy at the position 1, 0 remains at the same position, So, this is the origin, this is the galaxy at 1, 0. The separation between these goes up and so the comoving coordinate system x, the comoving coordinate of a galaxy remains fixed, 1, 0, 0 of the galaxy remains fixed, but its position, its actual proper position, proper distance is the comoving coordinate into a function of time, that the expansion of the universe is incorporated through this function of time called the scale factor. If the universe is expanding, the scale factor increases with time. If the universe is contracting, the scale factor would decrease with time. Okay. So, we had introduced this comoving coordinate system and then we had asked the question, suppose I sit at the origin or any other point for that matter, we have chosen the origin and ask the question, what is the speed with which a galaxy at some position r is moving. So, to determine the speed of that galaxy, we have to differentiate r of t, we get v of t. Now, when you differentiate this, the galaxy's comoving coordinate does not change, the coordinate system moves with the galaxy. So, its comoving coordinate does not change. So, what you have is the derivative of the scale factor into its comoving coordinate, and you can write this as a dot by a into r, which is exactly Hubble's law. So, every galaxy is moving away at a fixed, which sits at a fixed comoving coordinate, is moving away with a speed proportional to its distance, and this constant of proportionality we had called the Hubble parameter. So, this the Hubble parameter you can identify h t is a dot by a, evaluated at the instant in which you are interested. Next, so okay, the present value of the Hubble parameter is a dot by a, the ratio of the scale derivative of the scale factor divided by the scale factor, evaluated at t equal to t naught, the present time. Next, we were interested in the dynamics of this universe, and we had considered the simplest possibility where there is no force, where there are no forces acting on the galaxies are all moving freely. So, under this assumption, the second derivative of the position, that is the acceleration, the second derivative is 0. So, v dot is a double dot x and this has to be 0. So, if this is 0 for any galaxy, that means A double dot, the second derivative of the scale factor, has to be 0, and we have the solution where A is a function of, is a linear function of time, and we can choose, it is convenient to choose this constant k to be 0, so that the scale factor becomes 0 when t is equal to 0. Now, this brings us to the interesting issue. At the time instant t equal to 0, the scale factor has become 0. Now, let us go back to this picture. The scale factor tells us the distance between two grid points. The larger the scale factor, the larger the distance between two grid points. So, when the scale factor becomes 0, the two grid points essentially coincide, the distance becomes 0. Not only do these two grid points coincide, but also these two grid points coincide, and every grid point coincides with the next. So, the whole infinite, the grid, remember, fills the whole universe. So, the whole infinite universe has collapsed to a point, its volume becomes 0, and this is what we, this is a singularity, and we refer to this singularity as the Big Bang. Our laws of physics and everything breaks down when there is no space, the density of the universe becomes infinite, and we really do not know what happens when this occurs. So, we refer to this Big Bang, as far as we are concerned, that is the origin of the universe, the time instant when the universe started. So, t equal to 0 is the origin of the universe. So, the time that elapses from t equal to 0 is the age of the universe. Now, for this expansion law, where a of t is just a constant into time, if we calculate h, the Hubble parameter, at any instant of time, a dot by a dot is b and a is b into t. So, this b cancels out, it is 1 by time. So, what we see is that at any instant of time, the Hubble parameter is the inverse of the age of the universe, right. So, if you can measure the Hubble parameter, you can estimate the age of the universe. And I had asked you in the last class to make this estimate assuming, using for the present age of the universe, assuming h naught is 100 h kilometer per second per megaparsec. Remember, I had told you that it is convenient to parameterize the Hubble parameter in this form, 100 into small h kilometer per second per megaparsec. And so, if h naught is 70, it basically means that small h should be 0.7. Okay. So, I had asked you to do this. I hope you have done this exercise. The exercise is very straightforward. So, let me just go through it once. It is very simple. So, what you have to calculate is 1 by h naught So, 1 by h naught is 100 h kilometers. Let us express everything in SI units. So, kilometers per second per megaparsec. So, kilometer will be 10 to the power 3 meters per second divided by 1 megaparsec. 1 megaparsec is 3.09 into 10 to the power 16, this is 1 parsec into 10 to the power 6 megaparsec. So, you can see straight away that meter and meter cancel out, you have second per second, which becomes second. So, if you put in the numbers and just calculate this, you get h naught inverse, and the value turns out to be 9.7776 into 10 to the power 9 h inverse years. So, there is a h which I have not written here, but no, there is a h here. So, h inverse. So, this is this value, the inverse of the Hubble parameter, is called the Hubble time. It is called the Hubble time. It gives an estimate of the age of the universe. So, we have measured the Hubble parameter now, and this gives us an idea. This is not exactly correct, as we shall discuss shortly, but it gives us an estimate of the age of the universe. So, we see that the age of the universe is somewhere of the order of how much? 10 billion years. This is 10 to the power 9, 1 billion. So, this is of the order of 10 billion years, and if you put this small h equal to 0.7, it turns out to be more, 1 by 0.7, right, times that, which is greater than 1. So, it is of the order of tens of billions of years. This straight away gives us an estimate of the age of the universe, the time that has elapsed since the Big Bang. Right. Now, this discussion of the expansion of the universe was a little oversimplified. We had ignored the presence of forces. Now, let me ask you the question, what is the force that you expect to act between galaxies on such large scales? We are talking about megaparsecs, tens and hundreds of megaparsecs. What is the interaction, what are the forces that you expect to act on these large scales? Gravity, that is right, right. The strong interaction, the nuclear forces, the strong and the weak nuclear forces all act on very small scales. So, they will not act on such large scales. The electromagnetic interaction can act on large scale, but it has been found observationally that the universe is neutral, charge neutral to a large degree. So, if the universe is neutral, then the electromagnetic force does not act. So, then gravity is the only force, and gravity acts whenever there is matter present. So, gravity is the only force that acts on such large scale. So, we have to incorporate the effect of gravity, and we can guess what gravity is going to do. So, gravity is going to try to slow down the acceleration, the expansion of the universe. It is going to make it, it is an attractive force. So, its galaxies are moving apart from one another. Gravity is going to essentially slow down the expansion of the universe. Now, to do a rigorous analysis, one has to use general theory of relativity. That is the right theory of gravity, we know that, and we shall incorporate certain aspects of general relativity as we go along. For the time being, let us take up a heuristic Newtonian analysis, and interestingly, you recover exactly the same result if you had done a relativistic, fully general relativistic analysis. The Newtonian analysis gives us exactly the same result. Okay. So, there is no need to worry that is the analysis correct or wrong. Then I can tell you that the analysis is correct. It will give you exactly the same result which you would expect if you had done the full relativistic the analysis using Einstein's general theory of relativity. We are going to apply the Newtonian mechanics. So, let us consider an observer. We are considering the dynamics of the universe now. So, let us consider an observer sitting over here. So, the observer is at rest, and let us take up a spherical part of the universe, and we would like to study the motion of a test galaxy, a test particle on the surface of this spherical part of the universe of radius r, which at the time instant which we are talking about is at a distance r. So, we are considering a galaxy at a distance r. Now, Newtonian dynamics cannot deal with an infinite universe, that is the limitation. It can only deal with a finite part of the universe. Fortunately, in this problem, we know that this is spherically symmetric because it is isotropic. So, the density of the universe is the same everywhere. So, this problem around this, once I have chosen an observer, around this observer the universe is spherically symmetric. Now, we know that if there is a spherically symmetric mass distribution and we want to calculate the force on this particle, only the mass inside this sphere is going to contribute. The mass outside this sphere is not going to contribute. This is known to all of us. This is very elementary physics. So, we can straight away write down the equation of motion of this galaxy, which is effectively a test particle. So, the equation of motion of this galaxy, let me write it down, is the mass of the galaxy. This is the mass of the galaxy into d square r into the acceleration of the galaxy dt square is equal to. Now, what are the forces acting on this galaxy? There is only one force, that is gravity, and what is the, how much is the gravitational force? It is g, the gravitation Newton's, it has a minus sign, there is a g, the Newton's gravitational constant, universal gravitational constant. Then there will be the mass of the galaxy, right, that is the principle of equivalence. The same mass will occur on the right hand side in the force that determining the force that acts on this particle. Then there is the total mass inside m, and this force falls as 1 by r square. We know that, this is all well known. So, we can write that as r cube into the vector r. So, we have the equation of motion of this particle over here, we have the equation of motion of this test particle, the galaxy we are thinking of as a test particle over here. Now, the mass of this galaxy cancels out from both sides, that is the principle of equivalence. It does not, the gravitational force on a particle does not depend on its mass. The gravitational force depends on its mass, the gravitational acceleration does not depend on its mass, right. So, we see that the acceleration does not depend on the mass of this particle, of the test particle. So, this is the equation that we wish to solve. Now, let us write this in terms of the density. The density of the universe is the same everywhere, right. So, let us write it in terms of the density. So, this is the equation that we are going to deal with. So, in terms of the density, this becomes r double dot, the double dot indicates second derivative with respect to time, r double dot is equal to minus g, then we have the mass is 4/3 pi rho r cube, and then we have this vector r divided by r cube. So, this equation becomes quite simple, r double dot is equal to minus 4/3 pi g rho into r. It is a linear equation in r, in the distance. Now, we can convert this in terms of the scale factor. So, let us switch over to the co-moving coordinate system. So, we are going over to the co-moving coordinate system. R is equal to the scale factor into x, and the co-moving coordinate system moves with this galaxy. So, x does not change. So, this equation essentially becomes a double dot is equal to minus 4/3 pi g rho into a, because x cancels out from both sides, the derivative, there is no derivative of x when I differentiate this. So, there is x here and x here. So, I have this one equation for the scale factor, simple scalar equation. Okay. Now, the point to note here is that once I have solved for this equation for the scale factor, this whole thing is linear in R. So, I could have applied it instead of x, I could have used 2x or 0.5x. So, once I know the solution for the scale factor, I can actually apply it to any galaxy, not this particular galaxy. This solution is valid for any galaxy, okay, because the equation is linear. So, we would like to solve this equation, and let me write this equation over here again, it is very important. So, the equation that we wish to solve is A double dot is equal to minus 4/3 pi g rho into A. And if you do the full relativistic treatment, general relativistic treatment, you will get exactly the same equation for the scale factor. Okay. So, we would like to solve this equation. Now, the point to note over here is that the density is not a constant, otherwise it would have been a simple harmonic oscillator, right. So, if this rho were a constant, it would have been a simple harmonic oscillator. Now, the density rho is not a constant. Why is it not a constant? Let us go back to this picture. As the universe expands, so this galaxy at a later time would have moved, say, somewhere here. What happens to the matter which is inside this sphere? The Hubble's law of expansion tells us that the matter inside this sphere will never overtake this galaxy. It will remain inside the same sphere. So, the mass is going to be same. The mass inside which contributes to the gravitational acceleration is going to be the same. So, as the universe expands, the matter, if the matter is not created, essentially as the universe expands, if the matter is not created, then rho into A cube this, the density into the volume gives the mass, this will be a conserved number, it will be a constant, right. The density into the volume, so I take a unit comoving volume, the density into that volume, so its physical proper volume is A cube. So, rho A cube is the mass inside that is going to be unchanged because during the expansion. So, rho into A cube is going to be a constant, and it is convenient to write this as rho naught A naught cube, where remember this subscript naught indicates that we are referring to the present value at present. So, rho A cube is equal to rho naught A naught cube, and we will choose this normalization where A naught is equal to 1. The scale factor has a value 1 at present. The scale factor is dimensionless and it has a value 1 at present. So, we will choose a normalization where the scale factor is 1 at present. So, at present the physical coordinates and the comoving coordinates coincide. In the past the scale factor was smaller than 1, and at the Big Bang the scale factor had a value 0, right. So, the present coordinates are also the comoving coordinate because the scale factor is 1. In the past they will be multiplied with a smaller number smaller than 1. Okay. So, with this input, so we have to solve this equation where we know that rho into A cube, rho is not a constant, it is rho into A cube is a constant. So, we can write rho, this function of time, as rho naught A to the power minus 3. Right. So, this is essentially the same thing. So, we can write the density as a function of time as rho naught A to the power minus 3. So, now we can substitute this over here and we get an equation which has only one unknown function of time, that is the scale factor. So, we have minus 4/3 pi g, then I replace rho with rho naught a cube a minus 3, sorry, a minus 3, we already have one factor of a. So, what we get is 4/3 pi g rho naught a minus 2, right. So, we have to now solve this equation for the scale factor, in which the scale factor is the only unknown function of time. We can multiply both the left hand side and the right hand side of this equation with a dot. The time derivative of the scale factor. So, having done this, now you can write the left hand side as half d by dt a dot square. If I differentiate this, I will get 2 a dot into a double dot, and this will cancel out, 2 will cancel out with this. So, I can write this term as half into the time derivative of a dot square. And the right hand side, again I can write as 4/3 pi g rho naught into d by dt of a to the power minus 1, because if I differentiate this, I will get minus sign, I will get a to the power minus 2 into a dot. So, we have simplified, we have converted this differential equation that we wish to solve into this equation, and this has first derivatives on both sides. So, we can integrate this quite straightforward, and I will write the integral. So, once I integrate this, I will I will write the solution as half a dot square is equal to 4/3 pi g rho naught a minus 1. That is the, so if I integrate this, I will get half a dot square, I will get 4/3 pi g rho naught a minus 1, and then when I integrate this differential equation, I can also have a constant of integration. So, the constant of integration I am going to call E. Now, let me explain to you why I have chosen to call this constant of integration E. If you look at this term half a dot square, can you tell me what does it correspond to? And look at this term 4/3 pi g rho naught by a, and we have the fact that half of this term plus minus this term is a constant. Can you give me a physical interpretation of this? Can you physically interpret this? Yeah, see, it is quite obvious. The first term is the kinetic energy of that galaxy. The second term is the potential energy minus, so half a dot square is the kinetic energy plus the potential energy, which is minus 4/3 pi the mass divided by distance, right, is a constant energy. So, this is this constant we can interpret in this Newtonian analysis as being the energy of a galaxy at a unit comoving distance. Okay. So, this we can interpret as the energy. Now, another point which I should make here is that this problem that we are discussing is not something that is new to us. It might not have, it may or may not have struck you, but this problem is an entirely very familiar terrestrial problem, a problem that we encounter on Earth. Consider a projectile sent out from the surface of the Earth, a projectile sent out vertically. So, you throw a ball vertically upwards from the surface of the Earth. Now, so the equation of motion of that ball is exactly this. the mass of the earth remains constant. So, where the mass remains a constant, so the equation of motion of that ball is exactly the same as this, where m is a constant. Now, here also as the galaxy moves out, the mass that contributes to the gravitational acceleration remains a constant as the galaxy moves out. So, this is exactly the same problem. So, it is exactly the same problem like that of a ball thrown from the surface of the earth. Okay. And we know that in such a situation there are three possibilities. The three possibilities are determined, which possibility you have is determined by the value of the energy. So, here also you have exactly the same solution. You have three possibilities which are determined by the value of the energy. So, for a ball thrown from the surface of the earth, E equal to 0 is the dividing case, it is a critical. A ball which has got exactly E equal to 0 has the escape velocity. So, this ball when it reaches infinity, far away infinite distance, it comes to rest, right. So, this ball actually escapes to infinity, but it comes to rest when it reaches infinity. This is the critical model, critical, in cosmological terms it is called the critical model. So, if I plot the trajectory here, it will be a as a function of time. We expect the scale factor, the universe to expand forever, but as t becomes very large, we expect it to come to rest slowly, asymptotically. It will take infinite time. Now, E okay, E less than 0, if the energy is 0, what is going to happen? So, this picture, okay, E equal to 0, it looks like this. Slowly it approaches rest. This is E equal to 0. If E is less than 0, what happens? You throw a ball up which has got negative energy, so the ball cannot escape to infinity, it will fall back again, right. So, same thing happens here. If I have a cosmological model where the E value of E, this constant E is less than 0, it is going to, it is expanding now, but the expansion is going to stop, and then again it is going to, the scale factor is going to contract, and then it will again reach a singularity called the big crunch. And if E, so this is E less than 0, and if I have E greater than 0, so I throw a ball with positive energy, it has more than the critical velocity. So, when it reaches infinity, it still has some energy left, and it is going to be moving with a constant velocity, straight line with, which is not flat, which is going to have an angle. So, the curve, the trajectory is going to look like this, and it will become like this, will become flat as you approach infinity far away. This will have a certain angle which is the speed of the particle. So, this is E equal to 0, this is E greater than 0. So, the dynamics of the universe, we have now some idea of how, what is the dynamics of the universe. It is governed by this very simple equation in this case. So, the expansion of the scale factor is governed by this very simple equation, which is exactly the same as the equation of a ball thrown from the surface of the earth, and one can work out the solution for all three cases. It is not very difficult. Now, let me first address the question, how do we determine which model, which universe, what is the value of this constant E for our universe? After all, in our universe there will be a particular value of E, and if you can determine that, then we can say whether our universe is going to expand forever or is it going to collapse again, and what kind of expansion we have. So, we should be able to determine this value. right? That is of crucial interest. We would like to know, is our universe going to collapse in the future, or is it going to continue to expand? If so, is it going to come to rest at infinite time, or is it going to have a finite expansion rate at infinitely in the distant future? So, to let us address this question. So, to do this, it is convenient to rewrite this equation in a slightly different way. So, let us do that. So, we will write this equation in a slightly different way. We will first replace rho naught in terms of the density at that instant of time. So, we will write this equation is valid at all instants of time. We will write this instead of writing it in terms of rho naught, we will write it in terms of rho. So, we know that rho naught is rho into a cube, right. So, we have to just replace this. So, let me do it here. So, what we have is half a dot square is 4/3 pi g, and if I replace rho naught with rho a cube, then I get rho a square over here. So, we have rho a square plus E. Now, what we will do is we will multiply this equation by 2 and divide it by a squared, and we can take this term onto the left hand side. So, let us do that. What we get is a dot by a square minus 8/3 pi g rho is equal to 2E, right. So, the value of E is essentially determined by which of these two terms is larger. If now this term over here, a dot by a square at any instant of time, is what is called the Hubble parameter. So, this equation essentially is h square at that any instant of time minus 8/3 pi g rho is equal to 2E. So, if at any instant of time you can measure both h square and the density of the universe, if you could measure both of these things, then you would straight away know this and you would know this, and you would be able to determine the value of E. Okay. Now, it is so let us consider first the situation where E is equal to 0. So, the condition that has to be satisfied if E is equal to 0, the condition that has to be satisfied is h square should be equal to, at any instant of time, h square should be equal to 8/3 pi g rho, or what we can say is that rho should be equal to 3 h square by 8 pi g. If the density of the universe at any instant of time, if the density of the universe is equal to 3 times h square by 8 pi g, then the constant E will have value value 0, and we know that the universe is going to expand forever. If the density has a value which is so this we will come to this point a little later. So, this density is called the critical density of the universe. This is called the critical density of the universe. Okay. So, we could determine the present value of the critical density of the universe. So, the present value is going to be rho critical naught, this is going to be 3 h naught square by 8 pi g. So, again I am going to ask you to work out what this number is, right. If you can measure the Hubble parameter, which has been done, measuring the Hubble parameter is relatively easy. So, once the Hubble value of the Hubble parameter is known, which I have told you what the value is, the rough, it is roughly 70 kilometers per second per megaparsec, right. So, once you know this value, you also can predict the value of the critical density. If at present the value of the density of the universe is equal to this critical value, then this constant E is 0, and we live in this critical model which corresponds to a ball thrown up with the escape velocity, where our universe is going to expand and then it is going to come to rest at infinitely in the distant future. So, this is the critical value of the density, the present value. So, I will request you to work out what this number is. Let me show you the value, the critical density of the universe. So, if you express it in kgs per meter cube, and there is a small h occurring in the Hubble parameter. So, there will be a h square over here. So, it turns out to be 1.8791 into 10 to the power minus 26. So, if the density of the universe is more than this value, then we live in a model where E is negative. If the density is less than this value, we live in a model where E is positive. If the density is exactly equal to this value at present, we live in the critical universe. Or if you express it in terms of solar mass per megaparsec cube, you have this of the order of 10 to the power 11 solar mass per megaparsec cube. So, I request you to work out these numbers for yourself. Okay. It is a very simple exercise, but you should do it, it will give you some feel for it. Now, if the density is actually equal to this, we live in the critical cosmological model. So, if this density is actually equal to this, E is going to be 0. If the density is more than the critical value, so the critical value is decided by h square, the density is more, then E is going to turn out to be negative. The potential energy is more, it is going to pull it back. If the density is less, then E is positive. Okay. Now, so it is convenient to write this equation in a slightly different way. So, at any instant of time, h square can be written, h square can be written as 8 pi g by 3 rho critical. So, we can write this as 8 pi g by 3 rho critical, that is h naught square, and so we can take rho critical common outside, 1 minus rho by rho critical. Right, we can write this equation like this. What we have done is we have just replaced h square in terms of rho critical and then taken this rho critical common. So, we have 1 here and we have the ratio of the density to the critical density. The ratio of the density to the critical density is called the cosmological parameter omega. It is very important in cosmology. So, this is called the cosmological parameter. It is the ratio of the actual density to the critical density of the universe, and rho naught is the present value of the cosmological parameter. So, rho naught is the present value of cosmological parameter. So, this is very important. You will see this being used all over the place in papers everywhere. This is used to parameterize the density of the universe. The density of the universe is parameterized by dividing it with the present value of the critical density. This is what is called omega naught. If omega naught is more than 1, if omega naught is exactly equal to, if omega is exactly equal to 1, we have the critical model where E is 0, and if omega is 1 at a certain instant of time, it is going to remain 1 throughout, because this E is a constant. So, this E equal to 0 also corresponds to, this also corresponds to omega equal to 1. The density of the universe is exactly the critical value. Now, if omega, here I have 1 minus omega. So, if omega is more than 1, the energy is negative. So, this corresponds to omega greater than 1, and this corresponds to omega less than 1. And it is common to quantify, to use omega instead of this constant E to quantify the density, the density of the universe. And I have told you what the value of the critical density is. Now, let us consider let us work out the cosmological solution in the situation where omega equal to 1. That is quite simple. So, let us work out the cosmological solution in the situation where omega is equal to 1. Omega equal to 1 corresponds to E equal to 0. So, if E equal to 0, the equation that we have now becomes half. So, we are considering omega equal to 1, the critical, this is called the critical cosmological model. So, the equation that we are interested in solving is now half A dot square is equal to 8 by 3 pi g rho naught A minus 1. That is the equation that we are interested in solving, is equal to my 4/3 pi g rho naught A minus 1. This constant E is 0. Okay. So, we are going to solve this equation. It is quite straightforward. Sorry, this is not 4, this is not 8, it is 4/3 pi g rho naught A minus 1. That is the equation we would like to solve. Solving this equation is straightforward. Take this 2 onto this side and take square root of this. So, what you get is dA dt is equal to square root of 8 by 3 pi g rho naught. Rho naught is now the critical value, rho critical naught critical because we have omega equal to 1, and then we have 1 by square root of A. So, we can take the square root of A onto that side and dt onto this side. Square root of A dA is equal to 8 by 3 pi g rho naught dt. Now, this is the integral a to the power half dA So, if I integrate this, I will get a to the power 3 by 2, and I will have 2/3 over here. This is equal to this constant. I am not repeating it again, I am not writing it again. You have this whole constant over here into t plus a constant of integration k. Now, we will choose this constant of integration so that at t equal to 0 the scale factor is 0. So, we essentially have to choose this constant of integration to be 0. So, we do not bother about it. So, remember that we had a second order differential equation, we integrated it 2 times, and in this process we got 2 constants of integration. The first constant of integration was this constant E, the second constant of integration was this constant K. We have chosen E equal to 0. A second order differential equation will have 2 constants of integration. We have chosen E equal to 0, and then we have also chosen K equal to 0 because we want to fix the origin of time, so that at t equal to 0 we have the Big Bang. So, this is the solution, and we can take these factors over here. So, let us do that. If I take 3 by 2 over here, we will get 9 inside this. This 9 will cancel out with this 3. So, we will have a 3 over here, and if I divide this by 2, it is like dividing it by 4 inside. So, I will have 6, 3 and 2. So, what we have is a to the power of 3 by 2 is equal to square root of 6 pi g rho naught into t, or a of t is equal to 6 pi g rho naught to the power 1/3 t to the power 2/3. So, that is the final solution for the cosmological model where omega equal to 1. And this model is going to be very important in our discussion, because it is the simplest possible cosmological model. Whenever we have this constant of integration E occurring, whenever omega is not equal to 1, the solution gets a little more complicated. So, we shall always be referring to this particular solution. It is also called the Einstein de Sitter solution. Or the critical cosmological model. In this model, the scale factor A is essentially proportional to t to the power 2/3. Let us very quickly calculate the Hubble parameter in this cosmological model h of t. Hubble parameter is A dot by A. So, A dot is, if I differentiate this, I will get 2/3 some constant, this constant c, this I am calling the constant c, into t to the power minus 1/3, and we have in the denominator the same constant t to the power 2/3. So, which gives us 2/3 into 1 by time. Right. So, what we have over here is that it is very similar to the situation where we had free expansion. in the situation where we had free expansion, the age of the universe is the inverse of the Hubble parameter. In this model, it is not the inverse, it is proportional to the inverse, but there is a constant of proportionality which is 2/3. So, the age of the universe in this particular cosmological model is 2/3 of 1 by h, 2/3 of the Hubble parameter. T is 2 by 3 into 1 by h naught. So, the age of the universe is actually smaller, predicted age of the universe is smaller in this cosmological model as compared to the model where the universe is expanding freely. This is a generic feature. Gravity slows down the expansion of the universe, and the age predicted is always slower in the model as a consequence of the effect of gravity. Let us stop today's lecture over here. We shall resume on this discussion in the subsequent lecture.